All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. I said he was not going to be with us today, but he is a trooper, people. He's on the road, going to a family wedding, and was fully prepared to do this one alone. And I'm not doing it just with Mr. Kyle Sullivan. We got some kids in the room too, which maybe he'll make an appearance. Who knows? But one way or another, he wanted to come on and talk about this game. I mean, you can still back out if you want to, because it was a good game, but obviously the
Yeah,
Avs,
I should have said, "Oh, I'm still on the road."
yeah, can't make this one. But he's here. Avs do lose this one to the Carolina Hurricanes, but we're going to talk all about it. Let's get to it. All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli, and joining me, even though I said he probably wasn't going to be, is Mr. Kyle Sullivan, Shaggy Von Doom, with kids in tow. So if you're watching on YouTube and if you're listening in your car, not 100% audio quality for Kyle today, but good enough to do a show. And if there's a game that happened, he wants to be here to talk about it. So we will get to the Avs loss. We'll get to our sound check, obviously. Everything that's got to do with this 2-0 loss, it does not feel good when you lose these games. So take a deep breath. We'll get to it. And probably, I think there's a lot of frustration going on in Avalanche world for maybe different reasons.
Yeah.
So first things first, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions to LockedOnAvalanche at gmail.com. And follow the show on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. This is kind of what you wanted to see. A back and forth game, a prize fight bout, pretty much. And in the end, the Avs come out on the short end of it. The way that it started was rough. This is the exact kind of start I did not want the Avalanche to have. Carolina was in control of everything. And I give the Avs a lot of credit for kind of taking that control back towards the end of the first and going into the second, and pretty much for the whole second period, dominated that whole second period. And it was going to be one of those games where it's something freakish is going to happen. Something freakish is going to happen that's going to win this game. It wasn't completely freakish, but it was freakish enough. And that was, that's what Carolina got, was their first goal. And obviously that was enough. They get an empty netter. But from top to bottom, you don't have a ton of complaints with how the Avalanche played.
Yeah, and especially those first two periods, you really didn't like. Of course, puck luck was not going kind of the Avalanche way, and you kind of want to see them stack themselves up in these matchups. Like everybody's saying, this could be a future Stanley Cup matchup, and you want to see the Avalanche kind of prove what we all know what this team is capable of. But now it's been 5 periods since we haven't scored a goal, and the team's visibly frustrated with how puck luck is going, and the referees are getting under their skin, and injuries, and we have completely given up on Jos Abe-Kubel, and like, it's what do you do from here?
Yeah, you had the thing that everybody's kind of talking about right now is the way that it ended. With Gabe Landeskog getting a game misconduct and Nazem Kadri very animated after Carolina. I think was it Bear who scored their first goal? It was, yeah.
Yes.
Ethan Bear scored their first goal. As soon as he scores that goal, he slams a stick on the ground and he is going over to the ref and he's chirping in the ref's ear. And it lasted a long time. He went back to the bench and was still chirping at him. We didn't, altitude, they had to go to a commercial break. And when they came back, we finally understood what he was upset about. He got hooked, held, and tripped all in the same play, and nothing was called. And I think what a lot of people are upset about is, number one, that none of that was called, and it directly led to that Carolina goal. if it didn't lead to anything, then you're just throwing your hands up and saying, "No, there's another, missed call by the refs." But it led to, because that kind of took him out of the play, and now he's chasing to catch up. Could he have caught up a little bit more? I don't know. I mean, it really he I wasn't really his side of the ice, because Kemper kind of like threw the puck around behind the net, and it just went to Ethan Bear, and he kind of just threw it on net, and it went in. So and before that, it was very close on if whoever it was that brought the puck into the zone for Carolina was even on sides.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been challenged, but do you challenge? I mean, it was really, really close. Do you challenge that at that point in the game? Because obviously, if you don't get it, they're going to be on a power play, and a 2-0 deficit, if it's upheld, and then they get one on the power play, there's only a few minutes left in the game at that point. It's almost insurmountable. So I don't know. I mean, it was a tough call for Bednar to do that, but just a series of events where nothing went the Avalanche way.
And it was kind of par for the course that, like, the whistles were so sporadic. What was getting called and what wasn't. And between the two teams, there were 7 penalties between the both of them. And there were a couple other times that the whistle probably should have been called, like blown, and another penalty should have been out there. So it was one of those, like, you mentioned it was like a prize fight, but you can't have, like, the referees also being a third combatant. And the more the game went on, they became the focal point.
Well, so Gabe Landeskog had a really good post-game press conference. And if you haven't seen it, I would implore you to go to the Avalanche website, because they put all those up on their website, and watch that. He handled himself like a captain and a professional. And he started the interview. He sat down and he said, before I take questions. It wasn't like he responded to a question by saying this. It was like he had a prepared statement. And he said, in 11 years, I've never come out here and complained about the refs. And he didn't go on to say, like, the way he phrased it was so incredibly professional. He was saying they had a bad night, and then he went on to explain the calls in detail. And he said, they, it seemed like Nas got a stick up in the face of Niederreiter. And he said, and we felt like he flopped. So we're going to the ref saying he flopped, and he was like, but he still got him in the face. Like, okay, fine. If you got him in the face, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that there's not a flop there.
Yeah.
And they didn't call it. And then on the flip side, for the Kadri play, they go to the refs again and say he was tripped, he was held, and they told him, well, he flopped. So the refs saw that and thought that Kadri flopped. So you have that. And then, and I give Gabe a lot of credit for doing this, he kind of just snuck this in there saying, and I don't know if that's something, because, when the refs look at a guy like Nas and all of his history of suspensions, is he not basically going to get those calls? So kind of just throwing that out there to the league saying, if this is why you're doing it, we know. And I'm not going to say you better stop, but we're on to you, more or less. It was a excellent press conference. Go watch it. It's a few minutes long. It's beautifully done by Gabe Landeskog.
And when you hear the referee, like if you look at the referee pairing that they had tonight, and you hear that rebuttal with that little sly kind of attitude, you know exactly if between McCauley. I mean, it's McCauley he's talking about. Like, that's the one.
It is,
they have a
and he
good
said
rapport
too,
with. Yeah, and you hate to see that. Like, yes, he's the referee with the most personality. Like, everybody loves him. He's a fan favorite, and the players love him too. Like, he gets selected for the All-Star game for that reason. But now that you're going to get to this point where we try and point out a flop, and then you don't give it to him, and then when we try and point out a penalty, you're going to throw it back in our face.
Right.
You're going to send, especially in a game like that where anything can send it one way or another. If you don't feel like you have the referees back, that's when you go old school hockey and you start going into business for yourself.
Yeah. it's good. It was really good comments. He even said, for 50 minutes, he goes, they were fine.
Mhm.
But and you don't want that. You do want that. You want them to be good for 60 minutes, but when they're good for 50 and the last 10 for a 0-0 game is where they struggle the most, that's just what makes it, a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Because you fought and you fought and you fought, and if nothing came out of that, and then went back and forth a couple times, then like I said, then you're just complaining about a no call. But Carolina benefited from it, and what are you going to do? And then the empty netter is what it is. A rough pass by Gabe that was picked off by Aho, and then the rest is history. So more to get to, but first we got Built Bar. Built Bar, you love Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the market. And if you listen to this show, Kyle is a massive fan of those Built Bar puffs. Did you take them on the road with you?
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
you have to. I mean, especially when you're driving. I mean, you got a long haul ahead of you. You need some Built Bar. You need some protein infused marshmallow energy. Am I right? Yeah.
You betcha.
They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, and they are not just a protein bar. They are more like a treat and covered in 100% chocolate. And you can get them in different flavors such as cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, or banana cream pie. And all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, including the puffs. They're low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bar with a Built Bar. They have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Just go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and get 15% off of your order. Once again, the promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Some stats to get to. I thought the Avs, you're playing a team that has what is it, the number 1 power play and the number 2 penalty kill, or is that
I
reverse? I
believe
can't.
so.
Yeah,
I think it
it's
might be the other way around,
could
actually.
be the other way around. Either way, it's really good.
Yeah.
You're number 1 in one category, you're number 2 in the other. And the Hurricanes had 4 power plays, and the Avs shut them all down.
Hmm.
And really good too. I don't think the Canes had like so many chances where you're like, oh, they just escaped that one. I thought they did really, really well. And then on the flip side, Avs did very well on their own power plays, which they had 3 of them. And again, the Canes are number 1 or number 2, whichever one it is, in that category. And there were moments where the Avs were just, especially in the second. The second was phenomenal. And I put up on Twitter the Corsi score on Natural Stat Trick, the graphic, how it just goes. The top of the screen is Carolina, and that just shows how they were dominating. And the second, it just falls off a cliff and goes to the bottom of the screen, which is the Avalanche side of the screen. So it just shows you how they turned the tide of this game and how they were
Yeah.
getting dominated and how they reversed the roles. And I just love seeing that because it's a hostile environment there. Obviously, they're a very good team, and you are what you are in the Colorado Avalanche, and you go in 0-0, but you felt really good. You felt like they were getting really good high danger chances, and they just couldn't get it through. And I don't know if I want to give credit to Ranta, or the Avs just were off a hair on some of these shots.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, Ranta going all the way back to his Coyote days, he had shades of these performances. You don't become a NHL goalie being a fluke. Like if you make it all the way that far, you're an incredible goalie. And there were a couple saves tonight that you could say, okay, that was good on you. And there were a couple times the Avalanche it was just a half a second off,
Ugh.
or something just didn't mesh. And you're just, again, it's the puck luck. So it was a 50-50 thing. And then, like I said, like you could see the frustrations of both of those variables really mounting towards the end, especially with Naz's tirade with the refs. It's one of those that you keep trying, you know what you can do, but when you can't get it, like you can't achieve the goal, you just get frustrated at everything, and something's going to push you over the edge.
Because everything is kind of even. Shots
Hmm.
on goal, Avalanche 36, Hurricanes 37. Avalanche won the face-off battle
Hey, it's about
Standing
time.
ovation. Standing ovation. 55% to 45%. You take away the 10-minute misconduct for Gabe Landeskog, and penalty minutes are 8 to 6. The hits 27 to 24 in favor of the Avalanche. Blocks 11 to 14 in favor of the Hurricanes. Everything is kind of just right down the middle, and that's kind of what you're expecting when you have these two teams at the top of the standings. Now, we talk a lot about the depth with the Avalanche, and is this something like? All right, they've lost 3 out of their last 4.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? This is maybe one of the, with the exception of how they started the season, that 4-5-1, I think it was, to start their first 10. This is the biggest rut they've been in
Mm-hmm.
a long time, all season or since the very beginning of the season. And it's not really the time you want to do that. You're in. Maybe it'd be worse if you were doing it in April. The
Yeah.
last month of the season. But maybe you're gonna have these slides every once in a while, and maybe it's okay to do it now and get it out of the way and kind of correct things, and before the trade deadline,
Yeah.
where you can kind of address those things. If you feel like this is kind of gonna, like, teams have kind of figured you out, all right, now how are you gonna give them different looks? Some of that is maybe in the trade market, obviously, but you want to get out of this kind of a rut. They are. I mean, you can't really deny it. And we talk about the depth a lot. We talk about the players' time on ice a lot. And here you go again. So Abe Kubel, only 5 minutes. Tyson Jost, 6 minutes 40 seconds. Darren Helm almost got to 10 minutes. And the odd thing is, man, like there were a couple shifts early on where I thought those depth lines did well, and I see that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's encouraging, but it doesn't keep up. It
Yeah.
doesn't hold out for the duration of a game.
And you're talking about like seeing more from your depth. It's hard to see more from your depth if they're not seeing more than 10 minutes on ice.
Yeah.
Like you can we've been talking about it. We'd like to see more. We'd like to see you score. We'd like to see. I would love to see more of the players. Like don't hands where they can't score on the bench. Like give them a
Mm,
chance because we talked about it in the Devils game. Like you're wearing that top line out, and like you're seeing the frustrations and things not happening. Give them a chance on the bench just to ride for 2 more minutes and like catch another breath, like another shot of Gatorade. Let Abe Kubel go out there,
yeah.
Darren Helm. Like, yes, they haven't been great, but they're not going to get greater if they're riding the pine.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's Jared Bednar just kind of riding his horses for too long. You know what I mean? You had not Tyson Jost, I'm sorry. Cale Makar out there for 28 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right. While Taves was out there for 24 and a half, McDermott had almost 9 minutes of ice time. And in a game like this, that's kind of unheard of for him. This is a game where he normally has 2 or 3.
Like what? This is me just throwing this out to Bednar. Like I understand you riding your hot hand if you're trying to prove something. Like honestly, with our position in the standings and especially in the West, like this is just in soccer they would call us a friendly. Like this is a friendly matchup with the Hurricanes. Like there's really
Mm-hmm.
nothing on the line other than your top 2 teams in the league. Like nobody gains anything, nobody loses anything with this matchup. Why are you playing the lines like we're trying to win game 82 against the Blues and get into the playoffs?
Yeah.
Like let them play a little bit. I honestly, if it would have been reversed and you would have saw maybe 10, 15 minutes out of the top line and then really rode everyone else, like this is your chance to shine. Like go.
Mm.
This is a good team. Have fun. This is the first time we've gone back to the 82 game season in a while.
Yeah.
Like give them a break.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at Corsi scores and Fenwick scores, and they're not horrible for the depth players. You got Darren Helm, Corsi 4-7, Corsi against 5. JT Comfer 4-7 against 11. McDermott actually 4-7 against 8. Abe Kubel 4-7 against 6. Tyson Jost 4, 7 against 8. So they're all hovering in that range of as many shots as they're giving up in their shifts. They are getting shots on net. So, and again, I've always said that with those depth players, you want that to be near the 50% mark. They are. But you're right. Like, but in a game like this, do you really take the chance with them? Because, with the Hurricanes, they got last change.
Yeah.
So if they see your depth out there, they're going to pounce on that late in the game and put their top unit out there against your fourth line and game over. So maybe his hands are kind of tied and putting them out there, short shifting the depth players and, a little bit longer shifting as the game goes on with your top players. I get that. But like you're saying, like let them play during the first couple periods, get them going for that, and then do that in the third period where you have to short shift them and then get them out.
I mean,
I don't know.
like we've been talking about turnovers and how the team looks, and we're in a little bit of a slump right now. What this is doing with the short shifting is it's creating divisions. Lines 1 and 2 rely on each other. Lines 3 and 4, they just hope and pray they get good puck luck, because if they don't, they're gone. And then it's back on 1 and 2 again. And then in practice, it's like working with somebody at your place of work, and it's somebody who doesn't pull their weight, and you just kind of look at them, and you're like, oh, hey. And you're like, whatever, because whatever you don't get done, I'm going to have to get done. And you wonder if that's starting to creep into that locker room just a little bit. And the cohesion's not there, and you wonder the passing and the frustrations. I wonder if this has something to do with it.
Yeah, I think it's the ebbs and flows of a hockey season. You know what I mean? Like you were bound to have a rough stretch, and this is it for the Avs right now. And going home and going against Calgary, maybe that's what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe that is what you want to see, because you're going to get your best from them, which means you got to, put up your best as well. So, I mean, overall, I think it was a good game by the Avs, a good effort from the Avalanche.
Yeah.
A couple things bounce your way. You had Mikko Rantanen ring one off a post.
Yep.
Just a couple inches to the left, and we're up 1-0.
Yep.
So, like you said, most of the time the puck luck was not on the Avs side tonight. And a couple times it was for Carolina, they took advantage of it. So let's get to our sound check. And did you notice one player not on the ice last night? We'll talk about that. But first, Bet Online. It is that time of year again. College basketball and the big March Madness brackets will be upon us shortly. So from the latest odds, contests, player props, betonline.net is your number one source for all of your sports betting needs and info for the college basketball tournament. It remains your best spot for all the sports scores, podcasts, and news for this season. And it isn't just basketball. It is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. That is betonline.net, where the game starts. Okay, sir, we get to our sound check for last night's game. Against the Carolina Hurricanes. And the songs that we feel best summarize all of the action. So what do you got? And once again, you can find these, follow the Spotify playlist that we have created where all these songs will eventually end up. Go for it.
I picked a song from the star of the great movie Blues Brothers 2000. I picked a song from Blues Traveler, Carolina Blues.
I love this song, man.
It's a great song, and you know what? Another one of those. Look at the lyrics; it really fits the vibe of this song.
It does, yeah. It's such a good song. And I feel everybody knows Blues Traveler, but you really know Blues Traveler. Like, really dive into their albums. They make really good albums from start to finish. Everybody knows their hits and everything like that. And Carolina Blues was a single, but that was kind of when people were starting to wear thin with that kind of music and kind of moving on from it. And that's from one of their best albums, in my opinion.
Yeah, easily.
John Popper, very underrated frontman, in my opinion.
And check out his station wagon.
He's got a station wagon?
Oh, yeah, he got.
Does he really?
An armory in a station wagon. Like, he's loaded to the teeth. He's like
really?
sure. He's an
I didn't know that.
interesting guy.
He is.
Oh yeah.
The thing I always associate with John Popper, other than Blues Traveler, is harmonicas and
Hmm.
I think it's daggers in his umbrella. He got arrested for that once. He
Yeah.
had a concealed dagger in
Yeah.
the handle of an umbrella, and I don't know why. I just always think of that when I think of John Popper. So, good pick.
He's an
All right,
interesting guy.
he is for me. I just had the mindset of okay, like now we're in a dogfight. Like we were running pretty smooth sailing for a long time. Obviously, all through January, February was good. We still have distance. We pretty much have distance between the whole Western Conference. We are now kind of in a fight with some Eastern Conference teams if we want to get that President's Trophy again. And now with Carolina winning, it's pulled them even a little bit closer, obviously. So for me, my mindset was avenge sevenfold, and this means war.
Oh,
So
that's a
I'm going with
riff and a
that
half.
because that's what we're in. Like this is a war now. Like this is
Yep.
not going to be smooth sailing to the finish line. This is going to be war. And if we want that President's Trophy, which a lot of people think it doesn't matter, it matters. It
Yeah.
matters to the players. It's something that I know a lot of people are like, well, then you got a target on your head. Or target, you're going to have that anyway.
Yeah.
The Avalanche team, you're going to have that. Look how teams are playing you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look how the Devils played you. Look how the Islanders played you. Look how the uh, Coyotes have played you.
Yeah.
You have that target on your back whether or not you win that President's Trophy. So, yeah,
It's not going to get
it's all.
easier.
No, not at all. Not at all. So, and one thing that we will see is if Sam Girard will be back or not, because he was sent back to Denver with a upper body injury, I believe.
It was
I
an
think it
upper
was.
or lower. It's just
There's only
it's
two options, but I think it was an upper. So they sent him back, and nobody really knows. I even saw Peter Baugh did post something after the game that they did ask Jared Bednar, and he said he didn't have update on that. So maybe we will tomorrow. But when it was first released, a couple people put it. I know Dater put it out. I think maybe the Avs themselves did it. Peter Ball probably did, saying that he was not out on the ice for practice. So people were like, "Oh,
yeah.
is this a trade?" And then very shortly after that, they're like, "No, he was sent home because he's injured."
You got to
And
think about that
now,
during this time frame.
yeah, right. So now people are thinking. I think it was Dater who said he doesn't know, but he's heard grumblings that it could be worse, much worse than just a day-to-day thing. Are the Avs now in play of utilizing this LTIR, which Tampa is made famous, as well as now Vegas? Are they going to play that game?
It frees him up for $5 million
It does if they put him on LTIR.
if he goes on LTIR. And
Well, you can't. You'd have to put him on LTIR, and then if you make a move to replace him, he's pretty much done for the season.
mhm.
You can come back in the regular season. You know what I mean? If you trade, say you go out and trade for Chikrin, that soaks up most of that money. It doesn't soak up all of it if that's the deal. I think Chikrin's 4.7, 4.6 or something like that, where Sammy G is 5 even or 5.1 maybe. So the numbers are, and I'm just using him as an example. So if that's what happens, there's no more room for Girard. So his season would essentially be over, and then he can come back for the playoffs where there's no
And
cap.
see, and if he does go on LTIR, that helps us. Especially, I like your example of Chikrin. I don't know if anybody's paid attention to Coyotes hockey lately. All of those trade
Yeah.
pieces we talked about in Arizona, their price is going up, and we've talked
Yeah.
about trade value going up. Chikrin, he just scored a goal last night as well. Like, those pieces are going up. So why we waited so long to make a move? Maybe
You think
this.
they're going up like with this little mini run Arizona's going on? You really think that they're going? You think
Well,
like a team like they're going to say like, nope, now we want a second round instead of a third round.
because honestly, at this point, with Arizona moving to ASU, they're looking at pieces to build around. And if
Mm.
they see any kind of like hot flash and flare, they're like, okay, that's a piece we could build around. We'll keep him. We'll keep him. But everybody else is on the fringe. Like the values are rising and falling for a lot of different players right now. So if we would have made that jump for Chikrin when we talked about him, it would be a
Mm.
lot easier, and we wouldn't have to make this LTIR move where it's basically a little bit of a wash because of the salary. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
By the way, he had 2 goals against the Maple Leafs. He scored the overtime winner.
Yeah, that price is way up.
Bring him in. Bring him in. Come on. That's what I want.
A scoring defenseman, bring it on.
I would love it. I'd love it. That can play minutes.
Mm.
That's more
Oh,
what I'm concerned about. That is way more than I'm concerned about than if he can score, which is great that he can.
I'm like the
But
Vince McMahon meme, sitting back just freaking out in my chair.
I just want someone to soak up some minutes, meaningful minutes, not 3 or 4. So we'll keep an eye on that. We haven't heard. Maybe we might get more of that tomorrow. And if they say it's significant, this is something like what Ryan Murray went through.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the beginning of the season. Let him rest up. Give him 6 weeks to rest up. Fill that spot. Play the game if you have to.
Yep.
It's been established that it's okay. You're not breaking any rules. A team has won the cup for it. Your name gets engraved on the cup exactly the same, even though when you're $17-18 million over the cap in the postseason. So what? If the Avalanche need to play that, and the timing is right for it, and if say he's going to be out for a month, do it anyway. Give him an extra 2 weeks and fill that spot. Make a big splash of a trade. It won't soak up a lot of your cap space. And then game 1, round 1, hey, Sam Girard, welcome back with open arms, and let's go. I'm all for it.
And now Jost feels bad for playing through a broken jaw when he could have used that for LTIR and rest.
Yeah, right. So definitely something that I will be watching with a keen eye. So that will be it, folks. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be talking about the Calgary game, which is Saturday, right? Is that like an afternoon? What time? What's the start time on that one? I'm bringing it up quick here.
7 o'clock on Sunday.
It's a night game.
Sunday.
Oh, that's right. They have 2 days off. So, I got 8 o'clock on the East Coast. So it's 6 o'clock game Mountain Time is what I got.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we'll be talking about that on Monday, and then hey, two days off. Does that give the Avs some time to make some moves because it's coming up. It's right around the corner. So let's see.
Make some moves and some valuable practice time. Where usually these every other day games, you skip out on some practice. Be nice to get back together.
I agree. Is Calgary? Ooh, Calgary is playing the day before too. They are on a back-to-back. They are playing the Red Wings the night before in Calgary. So you know what? I'll take anything I can get at this point to be one up on a team. Why not? We've been on the back end of back-to-backs twice against Vegas. So I'm okay with Calgary being back-to-back, and we're the second leg of that.
No love lost there.
Nope. All right. That'll wrap it up. He is Hit the Road Jack, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, and I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you on Monday.